The glory days of wine and roses is behind us. Yeah. Who's Jewish Republican? Please identify yourself. We have a limit of only we only allow 2 Republicans in the chat.
So you've got 2 rants, right? You've got a rant on heresy and you got a rant on prohibition.
It's not a rant. I really want to do a talk. It's not a rant. It's a Torah talk. I want to explain this out. I know that you have confusion on it, and I don't want you confusing people. So I want to have a chance to clarify it. I wouldn't mind afterwards if you take the video and you give it a proper label, like, you know, this is the Rav's explanation, like we did with the conversions.
Right.
You know, give it a proper label. This is the difference between, you know, a heretic. Because there's a lot of people who are secular and they think, oh, he thinks I'm a heretic. No. So I want to explain that out. So I want to give that, and then I want to confront you about statistics on the other thing. That's not really a rant. I want you to talk. Let's see what you have to say. I'm going to have some answering to do, son. And that's really all I got. We'll talk about your sex addiction thing.
Cool.
I'm sure you want to talk about that. You weren't planning to bring it up?
I'm not sure.
Because you're speaking.
Right.
Because I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
What do we got here? What are you eating? All right. So I have that, and then I'm all ready to go. Otherwise.
So what do you want to tackle first?
Ready to start the show? We'll start with your sex addictions.
Okay.
Because that's like it's like I always like to talk about something that one of us is doing that's new in the last 7 days, and it sounds like that's something that's timely, and you can plug your thing, and then we'll go into the other business. Okay.
And what do you want to hit second?
The Republican. Did they leave already? I want to know who you are. Second, will come to me, and that's when I'll probably go with the asking the questions from last week.
Okay, prohibition.
Prohibition, and then before we get to the Parsha, I'll do the whole talk on the other thing, which is like more of a meaty kind of a Torah talk.
Okay.
I think it's going to be. I haven't rehearsed it. It may come out to be nothing. All right, start the show up, my son. If you got anything else, just toss it in there as well.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
You know, talking about boning black chicks. I know there's a lot of that you want to get to. And
that's for sure. Unless they're Jewish and Orthodox. I might talk about the top 10 non-Jews helping the Jewish future.
All right. Oh, when we do the Torah portion, you talk about, I saw that one of your notes was dyeing hair for men.
Yeah.
I want to go into that in detail. Let me have a chance.
Okay.
I just did a whole piece on this for somebody else who asked me that question a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was like, oh boy, I'm all learned up on this. So I want to be able to present all that.
Okay.
Let me have a chance to, really go into it. Don't press me for time.
I don't press you for time, and 15 months we've been doing this.
Yeah, you do. You just cut me off. That's what you do. You cut.
I occasionally say something.
You cut me off.
I occasionally say something. Like.
Oh, wait! I just saw that I'm wearing this. Let me take this off. I look stupid with this on.
The latchkey rabbi.
That's me. A little hot in here, but all right. Let's do it. Fire it. Bring it in, so we're both in the picture.
Okay, sports fans, welcome to another exciting edition of Torah Talk. I'm Levi Ben Abraham with Rabbi Rabs, and last week we
Hey folks, how's it going?
had a big argument about prohibiting drugs and prostitution and pornography, and we argued about whether prohibition was a good thing or a bad thing, and you had some follow-ups from that.
And you just ignored everything we just we just forgot everything we just discussed. We're going to start off talking about your sex thing.
I'm just focused on other people. I don't think about myself very much.
We just went through a set list, folks, ladies and gentlemen. We just, before the show started, just decided what we're going to talk about first, and we decided we're going to talk about his sex addiction. And now we ended up we're going to talk about the addictions to porn and alcohol and drugs. Is that where we want to go? We'll start with there. All right.
So I'm giving this talk on.
Oh, wait, I thought we were going to switch it. We're off to an amazing start tonight. We're just rolling with this show. Pick one. Which one do you want to talk about
So
first?
I'm giving a talk on the
Fine.
12-step programs for sex addiction. So there are basically 4 major ones. So I'm giving a talk on that September 14th.
4 major what?
4 major 12-step programs for sex addiction.
Really? There's 4 different types of programs?
Yeah, there's Sexaholics Anonymous,
Okay.
which is very Christian, very strict. No premarital sex, no extramarital sex, no masturbation. And so it's basically guys trying to stay faithful to their spouses.
Wow.
Those type of people show up to that. Then there's Sex Addicts Anonymous, and these are people who are addicted to porn, to prostitutes, to strippers, and like maybe chasing underage tail or the equivalent. And these are people who are addicted to certain behaviors, that they want to break those behaviors. But the program doesn't have bottom lines preset for you like Sexaholics Anonymous, which says, no premarital sex. You can have premarital sex in Sex Addicts Anonymous. You set your own bottom lines. Like, what are the behaviors you want to quit?
Can you have extramarital affairs in that one?
Yeah, because you set your own boundaries.
What about extramarital affairs with underage?
Sex Addicts Anonymous does not set guidelines.
So
people set their own guidelines.
So it's subjective morals for that one.
Well, it's not really about morals. It's more about people trying to set the boundaries of what they don't want to do anymore.
Okay, fine. 3rd one.
Then there's Sexual Compulsives Anonymous, which is pretty similar. These are people who are compulsive. It's dominantly men. So you get like flashers, men who are feel compelled to flash like strangers, or like in certain situations they just act compulsively and have no self-control.
Let's be honest here. How many times have you thought about dropping trow in public and how to restrain yourself? Honestly.
Well, I remember my therapist urged me to like do something brave that weekend.
Oh no!
I said, "Oh, should I go to the park and take a cow?"
Oh no!
And the therapist said no.
All right, but have you never?
I mean, it's something crossed my mind, but I've never had to like struggle with it.
Okay.
And then the 4th major one is Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and this is the most relationship-oriented of the programs. And so people see their behavior largely in the context of relationships. So they perpetuating the same destructive cycles of relationships, or like you'll get wives in there who, felt compelled to sleep with their husband's friends. Well, they just want to debase their husbands.
I hear a lot of stuff in these groups or whatever. Like the target is guys who have problems and they need to restrain themselves from watching porn. God forbid. What about the females that end up on the porn behind the cameras, right? You may be aware of that happening, that they actually film these women doing these kind of things, right? Who's got the bigger problem? The guy who's tuned into it, with his pants down, right? And he's he's just going to do that and then he's going to go to bed or whatever, right? I mean, you've been there. And the actual female, who did the filming, and she's there on the screen. Who's got the bigger problem? Who's the bigger sex problem? Who's got the bigger... I want to hear your words on that. Who's got the bigger problem?
I think it varies from individual to individual. Some, though I think it's a minority of the women in the industry, seem to thrive, and this is their life, sex work, and they're just born to be hookers.
So in other words, they just redefine it and they say, well, it's not a problem. They don't think it's a self-destructive behavior.
Right, well, if you just look at their lives objectively, are they addicted to drugs? Are they addicted to alcohol? Do they have friends and community in their life? And, are they able to save money and to build a life? Then objectively, they seem to be doing okay. In my experience, this was a minority of the performers of either sex. Then there are plenty of guys who seem to look at porn and it doesn't negatively affect their life. They're able to still relate to people. They don't do it obsessively for hours a day. They do it for 20 minutes before they go to bed at night, and it doesn't seem to hurt their life. But then there are plenty of other guys, I would say almost every